Hey, this is Jim McDonald. Welcome to episode 245 of the PowerCast. Originally, this was going to be JP Price. That episode is now next Wednesday. I did not know we were going to record this episode at the time that I actually made that announcement on the previous episode. However, Mark and I got together before we recorded with JP, and we talked about what the hell is going on with in this country with the sexual harassment thing. And Mark talked about a trip to Chicago that he took to help to upgrade his howmuchabench.net website, and he actually was in Austin at the Onnit Academy and got to hang out with previous PowerCast guest, former UFC fighter Kyle Kingsbury. Anyway, like and share this episode. We'll be back on Wednesday with JP Price.
Support for this episode of the PowerCast comes from Precision Nutrition, home of the world's top nutrition coaches. Head over to get.pn/PowerCast for a free nutrition course, especially for PowerCast listeners, focusing on the role of carbs. That's get.pn/PowerCast. Reebok.com, home of the Legacy Lifting Shoe, the official shoe of the PowerCast at Reebok.com. 8Man Strong apparel for people who lift heavy weights at 8manstrong.com. Compex Muscle Stim products at CompexUSA.com. Use the code PowerCast for an additional 28% off all but the lowest price model. HowMuchAbench.net. Use the code PowerCast for 15% off slingshots and free shipping on orders over $100. And Bodybuilding.com, the world's largest fitness website and supplement store. Bodybuilding.com has free plans for every level. Visit bodybuilding.com today to become your best self. Mark Bill's PowerCast is also sponsored by Health IQ, an insurance company that helps weightlifters get special life insurance rates. They're also the official life insurance partner of USA Weightlifting. To see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/PowerCast or mention the promo code PowerCast when you talk to a Health IQ agent.
Recorded live in West Sacramento, California, this is Mark Bell's PowerCast. Standing just to the left of Jim McD, here's your host, Mark Bell.
Today.
How's that happen every time? Sneaks up.
It does sneak up, yeah. Today would have been my dad's 80th birthday.
Oh, he was a December baby, huh?
Yeah, my mom too, as a matter of fact. My mom is, her birthday was the 6th.
How old was he when he passed?
70, almost 71.
Yeah. Yep. A lot of birthdays coming up. I think our guy Charlie Zamora just had one. His baby was born on the same day as me, so that's coming up too, December 10th. And yeah, I've run into a ton of people. They're like, I was born on the 11th, born on the 12th, I'm born on the 10th. So
my grandson Nicholas was born in December as well.
Yeah. And then there's Christmas coming up.
And then there's Christmas, yeah. And then the 26th, my mom passed away on the 26th. God love her for being able to hang on past the 25th, so you don't have to think about Christmas the day as.
Yeah, I remember Big Mike Jenkins passed that one year. He probably passed away. Maybe it might have been the night before. Or it may, but I just remember it being around Thanksgiving. Yeah. It might have been. I think it was Thanksgiving Day.
I think you could be right about that.
And I mean, you know what? There's no good time for any of that.
You know what I mean? and dates are kind of a weird thing too, because if you're in a room with maybe 30 people, something like that. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's close to 30 people. The chances that two people will have the same birthday in the room are really high. And you think there are 365 days a year, and so it would be randomly distributed, and it wouldn't be that likely. But I think it's only 30 people. Yeah,
that would also probably lead to you thinking that you may, a lot of you may all die in the same day.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Right?
Possibly, yeah.
Just numbers wise.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of shit going on, you know. I was away for Thanksgiving, and that was super cool.
Yeah.
And we just had typical business stuff. We went three. I think it's probably 4 years in a row with having some sort of I'll call it a strategical error to try to make it seem like we were doing it on purpose. But yeah, 4 years in a row of having some sort of website catastrophe that pulled us away from hanging out with our family. But you know what? Also, it provides us to be where we are with our family, and it provides us to rent out a really nice house and to do a lot of fun stuff. So it is annoying because I'm like, oh, fuck, website's fucked up again or whatever. But this time around, the website could handle everything that was going on. It was just some logistical stuff and some dirtbags. You get some dirtbags who can kind of figure out all kinds of shit with your website, because people today are really fucking smart. And they'll be like, oh, this is Shopify. And they're going to like figure out some way to like, I don't know, rig the system. So basically what people were doing is we had a free shirt available.
Right.
And people would put the free shirt in their cart and they would buy a bunch of stuff, and then they would delete all the other shit out of their cart and still try to get a free shirt.
And is that a like a plug-in, like an add-in, that be the free thing?
Yeah, so there's I don't know a ton about a lot of this stuff, but there's a lot of strategies you can do to like beat stuff like that. One thing is you can use a code, and then the code is a one-time use, and so it's like, hey, if you want to fuck that up, then, there's your one chance to get 20% off.
Right.
Then that's up to you. So that's what we shifted to, but what an interesting turn of events, because all the stuff that we created, all the pictures and everything that we made was all like, hey, we got this free shirt, and also we're doing 20% off, and we had to change everything around because now we had a code associated with it, and then the shirts sold out before Black Friday even hit. They sold out on Thursday.
Well, crap.
We always like to go a little early just to make sure things are functioning well. We let it roll out for an hour or so. There's more complication to it than necessary to go into, but basically we don't possess the ability, or didn't possess the ability, to have like a ghost site. So like live is live, and we have that ability now, but at the time
you didn't have a sandbox or what? It's one of the things they call them.
Yeah, right.
Development site,
right?
A staging area,
right? So like live is live, and everything just goes like hell all at once. But anyway, it worked out. It was just a matter of a few little tweaks here and there. Had a really good time hanging out with my family and my nephews and nieces and kids and wife and her family and everything. It was a lot of fun, a lot of chaos, because there's a lot of kids bouncing around and just going crazy. We played football. We went for walks. We played kickball. None of the kids played kickball before. They didn't know what kickball was. I was like, this is bullshit. How do you kids not know what kickball is? Kickball's great.
Well, yeah. Well, like I remember in like grammar school, like that was the thing you played, because
no spinners.
Yeah.
And then you throw the ball back at the guy all pissed. Like, I said no spinners.
Yeah.
The guy throws you that curve, right?
Right, exactly.
Motherfucker. Jason Hudak did it to me every time. I'll never forget that son of a bitch. He's like the only kid. He was the only kid on the playground that could kind of fuck with me when it came to like physical stuff, and it frustrated me like crazy because he was so small.
Oh,
but he was jacked. Him and his brother were jacked. They were like wiry, but they had muscle on them. And I'm just like, I fucking hate these guys. I ended up becoming really good friends with them later on. But yeah, I remember just always being like, how are they so strong? And I remember like I would arm wrestle Jason, and we would have a stalemate a lot of times. Every once in a while he'd beat me. Every once in a while I'd beat him. But usually we were just like a dead stop, and he must have weighed 50 pounds less than me. But he had like veins in his arms.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually in high school had a best friend that was kind of like that, smaller guy though. He was probably like 5'4".
The fuck's the deal with that?
5'4", 5'5", something like that. And so arm wrestling was tough because he actually had an advantage on the angle because his forearm was not as long as mine, and so I'm down.
Right.
And so I mean it was a stalemate every single time. A lot
of times taller people will have an advantage with that too, right?
Yeah, it never worked out. I remember being in pain.
Oh yeah, it hurts.
It hurts a lot. Yeah,
it totally hurts. Arm wrestling's a great thing, but it's something you wouldn't really, like just picture if you're at a Christmas party and someone's like, "Hey, let's arm wrestle." You'd be like, "What?" But it is kind of cool to see who's like better at it. I mean, it's kind of an interesting thing because people don't have any problem playing like ping pong or pool,
right? Yeah.
But arm wrestling, you're like, nah, that's too like we're gonna get too pissed at each other. Plus, you're probably thinking, there goes my fucking rotator cuff.
Oh yeah. On Thanksgiving, we were at my mother-in-law's and we ended up with like 6 additional family members at the last second, the day before.
Everybody piled up.
Yeah, just they were all going out of town, and then the situation changed, and they all ended up with us.
Is that Manteca?
Yeah, in Manteca. But my in-laws live in a retirement community, big retirement community that has a golf course, but it's a small golf course.
Yeah.
It's not it doesn't have like windmills and shit, but it's a like, I don't know, putt. I don't know what you call them. Anyway,
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, though, my nephew and my sister's biological brother's nephew. So her
gets to be confusing.
It's
at this time of
confusing.
year.
Yes. Yeah.
About who's who.
Yeah. Went golfing with my mother.
I thought you were going to say Tiger Woods.
My mother-in-law's husband and some other family members and stuff, and they were gone forever in the afternoon. We're all trying to hang out so we can say goodbye before we leave. Just like it's getting really late. Like I don't
like where the fuck did they go?
Yeah. I had other stuff going on, so I didn't go. I'm not the biggest golfer in the first place, but
I've actually never been.
Really?
Never played golf.
I had never played. I'd never tried to play 18 holes before, and I did last year in a charity tournament, and mostly it was a drinking tournament, and I was a mess by the end of that shit.
I never thought about
awful.
that. Drinking all 18 holes, you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
It was all awful, and like the group of friends that I go with, like none of us were drinking this year, and so like nobody went. We did not participate.
Does your family drink at the holidays? Like, just do people partake in a little bit of that, or not really?
Just wine.
Just a little bit of wine.
Maybe some beer, a little bit of wine.
Yeah, in my family, they they get after it, especially Andy's side of the family, her mom, and it's always really cool. I have a good connection with her mom, and we get into like these crazy conversations every year. It seems like, but yeah, she just likes to get after it, but she's it's funny the way that parents and grandparents talk about like their grandkids and their kids, and she's just going over how special every kid is in the whole family. I'm just thinking like, none of these kids are all that special. Like they're going to turn out to be whatever way they're going to turn out to be, but she's like just, Quinn does this and Jake does that and Hamish does, she's got all these, she notices all the good qualities. It's kind of a cool thing, but probably mainly just because she's hammered.
You're a special, unique snowflake, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Makes me think of that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Some people are gifted and other people are not as gifted. And
sometimes it takes a long time to see what somebody has. Sometimes maybe somebody just has, some perseverance, and how do you see that unless you seen them live for a long time, unless you've seen them around and deal with adversity, and you're not going to see that like in a child.
No,
you're not going to see a lot of that in a kid.
That's a long game thing.
What do you think about all this shit that's going on with with sexual harassment stuff? I mean, you've been sexually harassed here a lot.
Yeah, but it's like when it's different when people and that nobody's actually getting anything out of it. It's not quid pro quo.
Smokey's a registered sex offender, isn't he? Because of it,
he's registered as sexually offensive. I think that's different.
Okay. Oh, it's a little different.
It's a little bit different, but. No, my good friend Chris, his wife is involved in We Said Enough here in California. That's the women who work in and around the legislature,
right?
Who have been sexually harassed and are trying to change really trying to change the climate around it, and they were all involved in a big hearing this week in front of the State Senate Rules Committee. The way it's set up, like there's no good way to report it.
Yeah.
Because your report could get just completely shut down. There's no like third party that is going to try to find out all the facts from both sides and try to move forward.
So that's what these people try to do.
Well, they're trying to create a system like that because there isn't really one, and most places don't have one, and there isn't really one in DC either, honestly.
Right.
And I think that a very important point was made in this that kind of I had never really thought about before, and it really kind of blew my mind. It's that if you were a woman who is in kind of a junior position and a man who has a higher position asks you and could affect your job, asks you out on a date or for a drink or something, how do you say no?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
How do you say no?
Yeah, no, it makes it tough, and I think a lot of women do say no, and they end up staying in the same spot.
Yeah, and if you say yes,
and so you just see that repeatedly, and then you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, and it's a shitty situation all around. I have noticed, just what I've noticed with a lot of this stuff is that I think you have a couple different things going on. A, you have some shit getting blown out of proportion, and B, you have some stuff that's just been, well, not some stuff, a lot of stuff that's been swept under the rug for so long.
Yeah.
So now it's kind of hard. How do we know what's and all of it can be offensive. I'm not saying that's not, but putting your hands on somebody to me is quite different than a suggestion or some words, although they could all be very damaging.
Yeah.
But as an adult, I would think you can be strong enough to kind of let words slide away or figure out who to go to try to rectify some of that. I guess the good thing is now it's all, a lot of it's getting out in the open, and more people are talking about it, more people are aware of it, and maybe more people will get help or try to figure out some sort of way to, rectify the situation. But my dad, worked at IBM for over 20 years, and he said, he thought that he just kind of estimated, this is just a random number, but he said he thinks about 90%, like 90% of the men that he dealt with, he saw and heard and, these different things.
Yeah.
And at that time, that was just kind of a lot of stuff that was going on. And you think about the transition time of like my parents, there was, years where women were oppressed and they couldn't vote and they couldn't do A, B, and C. And some of the people that are raising us, and us meaning the people that are now in higher positions, so it kind of leads you to this position where maybe at some point people just accepted it.
Oh, I think that they did accept it. I think that they expected it, unfortunately. I was actually thinking about this last night. Like in the 90s when I was working in the corporate world, I worked at a place that would have big employee parties that were just employees. They were not like no spouses or anything. And they would have like a band or a DJ and like dancing and shit. It's like, how do you dance with your coworkers? Well, for one thing, you have to be drunk. But for another, it's like, thank God they didn't ever play any slow songs, because then that would get really weird. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, no, a lot of that's strange. And how do you keep some sort of professionalism? And also, like you said, you want to advance, you want to get better, you want to be, you want to make more money. And I have noticed with some people and some companies, you kind of notice a sense of professionalism from them. But I think a lot of these companies, they just give you like a big old packet and you're kind of like on your way.
Yeah.
You sign it. I don't know how many people really are paying that much attention to it. I guess, that would be one way to solve some of the issues, would be that you just all work together and that's it. And there's maybe less interaction, but that could make the company less effective.
Yeah.
If you're not like buddies,
Yeah, I think that one of the things I heard this week that seemed like a good solution in the legislature was pairing women up. So you come into the job and then you have somebody that you're always touching base with about this kind of thing. So that
when I was a personal trainer, my employer, he told me, he said, "You're to never train any women here by yourself." He's like, that could get you and us in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Somebody might say something. He's like, I do know you, but I don't know you. He's like, I don't know. So that's the rule. He's like, it could be another woman, could be another man. Somebody's got to be here. And so that's the way we always did it. And I think just stuff like that does make some sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I wonder, like, what the path forward is. Especially as people who have been like complicit in covering stuff up, kind of get exposed. When a perpetrator gets exposed, then the first thing you look for is like, well, who already knew?
Yeah.
When you look at like Matt Lauer, like I wouldn't have guessed that, but apparently that's been an undercurrent for a really long time. And somebody installed a button for him that allowed him to lock his office door from the desk and didn't have to get up. And nobody said, hey, that's kind of weird. Like, why would he need that?
Right. It is weird.
And Harvey Weinstein apparently had one too. I mean, maybe Hollywood has a place that you go, you get those relay systems that lock your door. I don't know.
I mean, when it comes to stuff like that, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but I guess people aren't really thinking. They're like, oh, he wants a lock. Like maybe he just wants to, when he sits down and someone walks out, maybe he just wants to push a button and lock it.
Do you think
They're just thinking of convenience, you know? But what a weird thing to have that come out now, right?
Do you think that in the sort of group training environments that we deal with in powerlifting gyms and CrossFit gyms and stuff like that, do you think it's better? Do you think it's better than other kinds of places because it's groups, it's not one-on-one, and honestly, like everybody's kind of sexually harassing each other in a it's a playful thing, and there's definitely lines that can get crossed, and anytime that anybody hears something and goes, ugh.
Yeah,
that's maybe where the lines cross.
I think one of the differences here would be just that I think that I don't truly know, but I would believe that somebody would feel comfortable enough to say something just to somebody, you know. So I think we at least have enough of that because the company's small enough. One thing that is different though in those environments is those women are all very competitive, and men. Everybody's very competitive with each other. Yeah. So it's not only about performing better, but it's about looking better too. Yeah. And those women are gonna, wear short skirts and stuff. I'm not, by no means am I saying anybody deserves any of this. I'm just saying that it's fucking tempting. There's a lot, and I feel that Matt Lauer should say, fuck all this, forget lawyers and forget all these things. He should go live on Facebook and say, hey, you know what, guys? There's a lot of fucking pussy out there, and I made a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of women that were chasing after me. There's a lot of women that were, sweating me because I'm in this position, and I'm a fucking scumbag. I'm a dirtbag, and I'm sorry that I did it, but that's what happened. And I think a lot of dudes would watch that. I don't think anybody would forgive him. Yeah. A lot of guys would watch that, and they'd be like, look at all the stuff that came out about Arnold, right? Yeah. Magic Johnson, any of these celebrities, The Rock, wasn't able to keep his marriage. It happens. Just a list goes. It can go on forever of celebrities that have fucked other people and destroyed their marriage and destroyed their life. This is still a little in a different category, but it is a break of trust, in a similar fashion, and so. I just think the only thing that makes any sense to me would be just to tell people what the fuck happened. I mean, unless he's trying to hide more,
it could be worse. It could be a lot worse.
And I'm sure it probably is. But as long as there's some things that you will never come back from. And rape is one of them, and doing something to a fucking kid. Those are two things that you can't come back from. You can come back from some other shit, though, I think. I think you can.
Unless you're Kobe Bryant, you can come back from rape.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever recovered from that all that well, but yeah, maybe. I think that he was always... He did still play in the NBA, and he still did... You know, he still was making a lot of money and stuff like that. But I think that I think his view was even skewed, you know, from what he was.
Mike Tyson?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't think, no, Mike Tyson definitely never recovered from that. He also went to jail for like 7 or 8 years, you know? So it's like, well, I don't know if that, if the punishment fits the crime on that, because I mean, that's not for me to determine, but you know, I don't know. I don't know what the answers are to some of these things, but I do think that, you know, fucking shit's sliding downhill. Why not just fucking tell people what happened?
I think that's a fair point. Another question I have is, okay, so when people work together in like a corporate environment, they end up spending a lot of time together.
Yeah.
I mean, they're spending a whole lot of time together, and they don't get to spend that much time with other people. And so, like, who are they going to be attracted to? Who are they possibly going to have relationships or develop relationships with? Right. And I think that, for one thing, you know, corporate entities need to have policies about how that stuff works, so it's not happening within the same, like, reporting structure or whatever.
People just really lose sight of what they're trying to do, I think, you know?
But how are people supposed to let how do you let somebody else know that you're interested without loading it up and making it creepy?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what the answer is. I mean, maybe, you know, when that person's picture shows up on your Tinder, maybe, I don't know. Then
I would imagine a lot of it probably does happen via social media or text messages or something like that, because it, you know, it is awkward to say shit to people's face, so people usually say stuff via text, right? But yeah, the whole thing is it's kind of crazy, and to see, you know, Matt Lauer, somebody who's been beloved for so long.
Oh my God, 20 years he's been making, and he makes making $25 million a year.
Yeah,
$25 million a year.
That's crazy. And then, you know, I think the worst part of all this is his children. You know, I think they're going to be affected. That's kind of what I always think about. I always think about kids. You know, what the fuck's going to happen to these kids? Mm-hmm. You know, they have this weird, confusing thing that happened with their dad that they don't really, you know, I don't know how old they are, but just what a goddamn mess.
Yeah, what a mess.
I mean, they don't deserve anything.
No.
You know, they're just kids.
And another thing that concerns me, just as a man, is that, like, a lot of these guys are not really getting due process either. And I'm not saying they didn't do it, but maybe they didn't do everything that they were accused of. And they're still losing out. I realize that's I don't want to be an apologist for any of this behavior, but the fact is that it just gets tried in the media.
Right.
You know, and that's not really fair either.
You know, motherfuckers at the other stations are all trembling. They're like, when am I going down?
Well, 2 of the 3 major network morning hosts are gone.
Yeah.
To the same kind of thing. Charlie
also,
Rose,
too, like, what's, you know, how far do you go down the rabbit hole? Because what's said amongst 2 men, if that gets overheard,
that sucks,
look, guys are gonna say all kinds of stuff, and as soon as a woman leaves a room, if the woman's hot, they're gonna fucking say something. If either one of them's attracted to her at all, you know, somebody's gonna be like, "Hey, would you?" And the guy'd be like, "Fuck yeah, I would," and they'd maybe high five each other. That's what guys do. Guys do shit like that, and we're gross. We're trying to reproduce over here.
I think you just have to be. You have to think about what it would sound like out of context when you say something like that.
Yeah, you got to stop now. You got to and rethink what the fuck it is you're going to say and how it's going to affect somebody.
Yeah, and I think it's perfectly fine to say somebody's attractive or you know,
but that can get taken too far.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that maybe part of the problem is guys who just don't read social cues very well. Yeah. I mean, I feel like those are the people that turn into stalkers.
I think that's a big part of it. I think some of these guys they're in a position of power, and they probably just feel that every woman wants them because they're successful, and they probably feel like they're on cloud 9. You know, so
Well, you know, that would feel pretty good. I don't have any experience to that myself, but
yeah. Well, Matt Lauer, I mean, he's what is he, 50? I don't know.
Probably some 50 something.
Yeah, he stays in shape. He's a good looking guy and stuff. But again, I think people just lose perspective. You know, what are you doing it all for? Why do you need to matter in other people's eyes so much? Like, that's okay to want some of that, but how far are you going to take that? That's some. Look, man, we're all. It's not going to end well for every single one of us.
No,
basically, right? And who's going to be by your side? These fucking whores that you're trying to hit up, or your fucking wife,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean whores. Now everybody's all fucking all up in arms.
We're just gonna beep right there. Beep. People will just think of the worst possible.
I don't
word.
give a fuck. I don't really care. But I just think it's just a crazy situation. So I don't know. We'll see what the fuck happens with all these people.
Yeah.
The electric chair.
I think maybe the one that sort of freaked me out the most was Garrison Keillor, who is like 70-something years old.
Oh, yeah.
And his story seems pretty...
That's where they got to cut people off with the Viagra. Just don't let that guy get his hands on that, and he can't chase people around with a fucking boner anymore, right?
Well, I don't know. If his story is true, if the way he's telling the story is true, that this woman was telling him something terrible. She was upset about something, whatever. He was like trying to comfort her, and he put his hand on her back, but she was wearing a backless like outfit. And
he
so
was like, hey now.
It was like skin to skin. He was like, ooh. Apologized at the time, and he said he apologized by email. She accepted the apology, and now she's like, Garrison Keillor touched me. Like if that's the true narrative, then she's really just trying to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I think at this point, people just need to be watching what they do and watch what they say, I guess, right? They need to be extra safe.
Mark Bell's PowerCast is sponsored by Health IQ, an insurance company that helps weightlifters get special life insurance rates. They're also the official life insurance partner of USA Weightlifting. To see if you qualify, go to healthiq.com/PowerCast today. So what makes Health IQ so unique? They use science and data to secure lower rates on life insurance for weightlifters and strength trainers. Historically, you get penalized by life insurance companies for BMI, family history, and other attributes, but you don't get rewarded when you live a health-conscious lifestyle. 56% of Health IQ customers save between 4 and 33% on their life insurance, which is crazy. That's actually a lot.
I wish you could get insurance on like your pecs and stuff. Like I blew out my pec like 3 times. So can we do that? Will they have stuff like that?
What I'd like to have had when I was competing was lift insurance. That's just one letter off.
What about deadlift insurance?
Deadlift insurance. I could have used some of that. You really need that because, going into a deadlift in a meet, you're beat, right? You're tired. You need all of the pre-workout stimulants you can possibly get.
And it kills you.
Absolutely. So to see if you qualify, get your free quote today at healthiq.com/PowerCast or mention the promo code PowerCast when you talk to a Health IQ agent. So you were in Chicago?
I was in Chicago, and I went to Chicago before Thanksgiving, and that's what helped fix my website situation.
Okay.
Yeah. I met with somebody that could assist us through that process, and that's working out really well. And I have more meetings with him coming up, and this guy's running our website for us now, which is really awesome. So yeah, Andy and I. It's interesting because the guy kind of Mark Bell'd me. We were texting back and forth, and I got his information from another friend of mine who used to work at Facebook. And what I'm trying to find are some fucking experts.
Yeah.
And everybody says, "Oh yeah, I know how to do that," and they don't. They don't know how to do it. And everyone kind of just says, "Oh yeah, I know how to do e-commerce. I do it for so and so," but a lot of the people that I've been dealing with just don't have that much experience in the space. And if they do have experience in the space, they don't have experience with somebody with the amount of SKUs and stuff that we have. So basically, all the real savages and all the people that are great, they're already working. You know, they're already at fucking Amazon and Rogue Fitness and wherever else. And so it's been hard for us to find the right person. We've found some people that are good, that have done good stuff for us, but it just hasn't been the right fit yet. And so that's what we're working on fixing.
I thought I had heard that if you had a certain level of account, which I'm sure you probably do at Shopify, that you have like one person at Shopify who deals with your stuff.
You probably can, but Shopify is new for us, so we didn't have that before.
Okay.
And
I think I heard Chrissy May say that.
Yeah, that's been also a thing for us where we've been, we've had to start over.
Yeah,
and we're starting over once again, and we're probably changing the name of the website, and we're doing all kinds of stuff. But I don't care what needs to happen. I just want it to happen, and I just want it to be the best. That's all I'm trying to. Just the best it can possibly be. Yeah. I'm not looking for anything fancy. It doesn't need to have too many tricks to it, but it just needs to be functioning and needs to work well. So anyway, this guy, he texted me and he said, why don't you come out here? And I'm like, well, I don't know where you live.
Yeah, that's a thing.
He said Chicago, and I was like, I do that to people all the time to get them here on the podcast. I'm like, oh, you should come up. You'd have a great time. And that's why it's always like a last minute weird scramble, because I just squeeze somebody into some time slot or whatever. And so, we went back and forth, and I was telling Andy, and Andy's like, we don't know this guy at all. I was like, yeah, but we don't have any choice. We got to make shit better, and it has to happen like tomorrow, And she's like, okay, well, let's figure it out. Let's see if your parents can watch the kids, and let's go. And so we went to Chicago and met with him, and he had a very sophisticated plan for us to execute a bunch of different things on. And now we're kind of moving in that direction. It's all simple stuff, like somebody, purchases something, and you just have an email chain that says, hey, I recognize that you just made a purchase, and maybe you want to follow up, and here's 20% off of your next product.
Right.
You get emails like that all the time. Yeah, I'm sure.
Like customer retention strategy and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think T-Nation does it quite a bit. Bodybuilding.com. One of our sponsors. They do it quite a bit. So just some stuff like that. And then, came back and then went on vacation, and then I just went to Texas, and I was at the Onnit Academy again, and that was really cool. Got to hang out with Kyle Kingsbury, who we had on the show.
I fucking love that guy.
Who doesn't?
He's so awesome. I listened to him with
I have some sexual harassment stuff to bring up on him, because he was all over me the entire weekend.
Oh my
God. He really was. I know. Yeah, he's like, hey, let's do jiu-jitsu, and I had no idea what was going to happen in that jiu-jitsu class.
That's awesome. No, he's cool. Because he's running the Onnit podcast now, and he had Matt on recently. Yeah, and I listened to that, and it just reminded me how cool he is. And we had him on so early this year and I think a lot of our audience was not familiar with him, but probably are now. And
he's just a couple episodes into the Onnit podcast, so I think he's maybe done 10 or something.
Something like that. But he's having an impact because their ranking has climbed considerably.
Yeah, well, he's basically like a liaison for them, which is like he's the perfect guy for that.
Yeah.
He's like, when people come into town, if whatever they need, if guys want to go out and drink, and he's like, I'll bring them out and we'll do whatever the hell they want to do.
Yeah.
He's like, if guys don't care, then I'll just bring them nice dinner, and that'll be that. So he's just kind of like a host. He's hosting everybody. He's making sure you're okay. I went down there with Andrew Zaragoza, our photographer, and he was just like, he was honest the whole time. Hey, what do you need? You need anything? You need any food? You need any water? Coffee? What do you need? Mm-hmm. And there was like these little breaks in between. I remember at one point he like ordered us food, and he's like, oh shit, the food's going to take a while. And we're like, oh, we're good. And he comes flying over to us with these smoothies from the Onnit like smoothie bar.
That's awesome.
And yeah, he was very just himself. He's just fucking awesome. His wife's awesome. They invited us into their home. They cooked for us, and
wow.
Well, kind of cooked. They made us giant salad is what they ended up doing.
There you
go. But the salad was really good. And Andrew, who has spent most of his life eating out of a fucking garbage can and enjoying burritos from fucking 7-Eleven.
He kind of reminds me of Snoopy's brother Spike.
Oh my God. Yeah, Spike.
Spike, yeah.
That's a good analogy.
I love Andrew.
Yeah, and so Andrew, his like body's not designed to eat anything healthy. So
No.
he's like, I've never had a salad this big. But you're eating like salad and carrots and shit and chicken breasts kind of all thrown in this thing together.
That's
but,
awesome.
you know, it's not very manly to talk about how great a salad is, but it was a bitchin' salad. It was really fucking good.
I love me a good salad.
Yeah, it had you know, all different kinds of greens in it and stuff like that, and sprouts, and then it had, I think it was goat cheese, chicken, strawberries. You know, like people throw the fruit in there. Sometimes it's weird, but they didn't put too much in there. It was a good amount. And I think they might have made their own dressing, or they might have used Mark Sisson's, one of his fancy ones that he has that doesn't have any bullshit fats in it or whatever. And it was just, you know, it was really good. But we also got a dissertation on mushrooms and LSD and
He's the Mr. Psychedelics.
yeah. We got some really good information on a lot of good shit. It was really cool for me especially. I don't know anything about any of that stuff. I've never even tried a joint or anything, so I don't know any of it. So it was pretty cool.
He's a big mind expander.
Yeah,
but my days with that kind of stuff are way long behind me. So
when I was on Aubrey Marcus's podcast, obviously he's way into all that stuff too, and he was talking about how, I don't recall the drug now, but it was a psychedelic type of drug, and it's used for treatment, and they're trying to get like approval for it. There's been more and more testing behind it. I think he has a program called MAPS, I believe it was called, and it's something that he believes in quite a bit. And I think he was basically saying that this is back to sexual abuse again. This is for children that have been sexually abused. It's not necessarily for children. Anyone who's been sexually abused is going and getting treatment.
Or PTSD, really, like broadly PTSD. So like
anything in that category is some
Molly
bullshit
and
that happened.
ketamine are the ones that I've heard recently with both of those
Right,
things.
right. And he was saying you know, it's a full treatment. It's not like you just get fucking
it's
high
like one
and
time.
you're like, oh, I feel great.
Yeah.
It's a reoccurring thing where you have to you have a specialist that talks to you and everything. But
Right.
all that just makes a ton of sense. I mean, I've never thought about that before. But just for those people that are listening and they have hangups about these types of drugs, just think about just taking a shot. You know, just here's a fucking shot of tequila. Go talk to that doctor over there, right? Like now you're like, okay, you know, here's what's going on. You know, and so it just opens your mind. It makes sense.
Well, the thing with PTSD is for most people, I can't speak super clinically, but for most people, it involves reliving specific moments over and over and over and over and not being able to break that cycle, and then having increasing anxiety around that, and then it destroys your sleep, and then
it's complicated too because there's certain things I guess that you don't remember, but you just know there was like harm there and there's damage there, and you like
child sexual abuse is big in that category.
Fucking crazy. You just know something fucked up happened. And and maybe you got bits and pieces too from somebody else or something. I don't know how it works. I've never been in that situation, thankfully.
But with those drugs, what they're finding is it is allowing people to break the cycle by changing their brain chemistry enough so that they're not running in those same same memory patterns over and over again. I can just tell you that there have been specific things. You know that period of my life that you know about that tons of bad shit happened in a short period of time. You were in that same kind of deal, except I had 3 of them in a row, and there were between my best friend dying and my mom and then my dad. There were specific moments that played over and over and over again, especially with my best friend dying. I would have done fucking anything to make those moments go away, and they really I think it was 6 months. It was awful, just reliving certain moments over and over again. Without getting into what they were, it was bad. It was really bad, and I thought, I'm just going to go through this forever. And eventually, it worked its way out in just kind of the normal grieving process. But if you don't get out of that, and you're really, really stuck,
or what if you just you're on your own, you don't have a family, You know, you have kids, you get grandkids.
Yeah, you don't have enough distraction to keep you going.
You have other things going on. You got friends, you got support. You know, and there's a lot of people that don't have any of that, and they got nothing to turn to.
Yeah.
Fucking brutal. But I thought that was interesting that they basically get high to treat people, which I thought was pretty cool. That was super interesting.
It makes total sense to me.
But it also makes sense too if you could, you know, take some of these drugs. If you take certain drugs to make your muscles bigger, then you could just take certain drugs to expand your mind. You know, so to me, it makes a lot of sense. And I guess with what we know of steroids, it doesn't surprise me that people are like, "Oh, you're gonna do what?" You know?
Yeah.
They're in shock and they don't want to allow it to happen because for some reason people can't figure out a way to monetize it enough or something. I don't know what the problem is, but
that's a possibility. I don't know. I mean, I feel like
how that gets in that category, but
I feel like with, you know, like Molly or ketamine, they're going to play around with the molecule enough that it's more benefit, less harm.
Yeah.
And somebody will make money off that and it'll become popular. With stuff like mushrooms or ayahuasca or that kind of stuff, I have no idea how that's ever going to be monetizable from pharmaceuticals perspective.
Well, it's so easy to overdo it, is my understanding, right?
Yeah, and I think that
I guess each thing is a little different. Each strain or strand or whatever it's called is a little different. So I'd imagine, if you can overdo it and you're just you don't know where the fuck you're at, it's probably not a good thing.
Probably not. Anything else before we wrap this one up?
Got some turf here at Super Training Gym, so that's exciting, and we're still just plugging away, trying to get that whole shit just polished off. We're putting up a wall, not the same as Donald Trump's wall,
not the same as Pink Floyd's wall,
but we're putting up walls over here, and that'll be done soon. We got the ST logo up, which is pretty cool.
It looks awesome, yeah.
Yeah, it came out really good from our boy Minus, so appreciate that. And we'll be dressing this place up over the next couple of weeks and months too. And it feels good. Feels good just to, keep chipping away and watch everything kind of come together.
Kind of settle in.
Hell yeah. Multiply your hustle, multiply your muscle, and may all your shits be tapered. I'm at Mark Smellybell on Instagram and Twitter. And thank you guys for following along with Super Training 06 for so long, because we're now up over 300,000 subscribers.
There you
Thank
go.
you guys. Check you later.
Shout out to all of our sponsors. 8 Man Apparel at 8manstrong.com, bodybuilding.com for all your supplement needs. Compex USA for cutting-edge muscle stim machines. Get an additional 28% off when you use the code PowerCast on all but the lowest price model. Reebok.com, home of the Legacy Lifter. Increase your bench at howmuchyoubench.net. Get 15% off slingshots with the code PowerCast. Power, the only strength magazine available in both digital and print at thepowermagazine.com, and Precision Nutrition. Get your free course, especially for our listeners, at get.pn/powercast. That's get.pn/powercast. And Health IQ. Head over to healthiq.com/powercast and see if you qualify for excellent rates on life insurance. I am at the Jim McDonald on all the social medias. Follow the show on Instagram. We are at Mark Bell's PowerCast. Right here.